everyone, and thank you for joining us at Fish Easy. Tonight's episode is a quick rundown on various successes in the fish room, a couple of surprises here and there. So if you're watching this on the replay crew, please leave a comment down below. I appreciate it very much when you just let me know you're on the replay. And with that in mind, put your thumbs up and all that jazz. Thank you very much for a wonderful Friday night, a chance to just chat about a few things. I have some very interesting things to show. So let's get into it. First of all, this week we're going to do the format in a way that includes a little bit of feedback, mailbag. So towards the end we're going to do a little feedback. We're going to use actual print emails that have come in, and we're going to take a look at some of those and some of the comments. Also, what has worked and what hasn't worked. So if you are joining us, thank you, Aqua Addicted. It's great to be here with a few of our friends for on a Friday night just to talk about some fish. It's not going to be a very long episode, but here's some things that you can look forward to. I'm going to show you a very surprising find in the fish room. Sometimes it happens, sometimes you just find babies everywhere, and that, of course, has happened many a times. I think when we, at least when I had in Sister's Plecos, I had a group of them in a tank, and then all of a sudden, poof, they were all over the place, and I didn't even notice that they had fry or eggs. So sometimes that can happen. They can grow up in the dark side of things. But what happens when you suddenly find fry in a tank where the fish would normally be gobbled up? This happens from time to time. Just to give you one experience. Actually, two experiences. One was just astronomically unbelievable. In my fish room, I had a tank that was at the end of a row of tanks, big tanks, 50 gallons that were running in the display, and there was a small 10-gallon at the end. And one day, out of the blue, I'm about ready to change the water and use that tank. It's been sitting there empty for I don't know how long, maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. It just wasn't used. It was a 10-gallon at the end. And one day I'm going into the looking at the tank, I'm getting ready to change the fry, and I see something move. And I say to myself, what's that? So I looked very closely at what I saw move, and it was a fry. So here's an empty tank, and it has a fry in it. And I'm saying to myself, how could this be? How is it possible? Well, as it turns out, the way it was possible to get this little fry, one fry, and I didn't even know what species it was. So I just let it grow in the tank to see what it was, because I was so curious. And I think all of us would be that curious if we just had a fry appear out of nowhere. So this particular fry turned out to be an Odessa barb. And so I started thinking about it. It's like, how could a fry appear in an empty tank? Bare bottom, everything. And even survive, for that matter. As it was growing, it must have been eaten tiny little microscopic. It was just one, so maybe there wasn't a lot of competition for the food. So I started thinking about what I had done. And yes, I had an empty tank at the end, but there was a sponge filter on there. And I believe what I did was I took the sponge filter out of another tank and I put it in this tank. And so it dawned on me that there must have been an egg laid on that sponge filter. And so it hatched, and then it grew up. It was a beautiful little male Odessa barb, and that was back in 2018. I know what year that was because I even remember who I gave that little fry. We called it the Jesus fish. He just appeared out of nowhere. So it was a really interesting story. But now, sometimes I have had barbs who are in a tank, and this is what happened not too long ago. In fact, earlier this year, I'm going to show you how it was set up. These are African banded barbs, and they're down here in this tank here. And I had a tank that was like this, but it had more of this particular what do you call this? This is the plant that is like a moss, but it's not really a moss. It's um, Subwassertang. There you go. Thank you. So Subwassertang. So it had grown all the way back and it covered the entire bottom of the tank. Now the fish were just in there, and I was just growing them or holding them. And then here's another tank with Subwassertang. I like the Subwassertang because it does provide a lot of plant matter. It grows well, and as you can see, it keeps a super clean tank also. If I want to clean the Subwassertang, it's easy. I just filter it out into a bucket along with the water and stir it up. The gunk falls to the bottom. I take a net and then scoop out the Subwassertang and throw it back in the tank. That's how easy it is to clean. So I have this tank, and I remove the fish, and I took them out, and then I just left the tank alone, and sure enough, I saw a baby African banded barb swimming on top of the Subwassertang. So I realized that, you know, sometimes fish are spawning in our tanks all the time. And if you move fish and sometimes let a tank just sit there for a while after you've moved it, you might be surprised at what might grow out of it. Now, this is what happened to me the other day. So here we are. We're looking. I'm looking at the new fish I put in this tank. No, well, let's step back a minute. I'm going to tell you the story about what happened about this tank. This is the tank where as you know, I had some blue-eyed rainbows in here. I had a female and 3 males. It's a small tank, and I usually use it for just holding these breeder boxes. But obviously I like to have the tank because I'm conditioning the water. The water has to be good for the breeder boxes, right? So the water is filtering in and out. So I'm basically using this as a bladder tank. Okay. So I had 3 males and 1 female, and then I took them out. I took the males out because the female had jumped. Now, if you know anything about the Illuminatus rainbow fish, a little crack like this, they'll jump. They are jumpers. I've lost so many, and mostly to jumping. And the females get chased by the males. Next thing you know, they go poop, and they find that crack, and they're looking for that crack. Maybe it's, in my mind, maybe it's because I feel like they see the crack and they jump for it, and they're going for it. I don't know. There's also another explanation. They probably jump all the time, and they're not making the crack 99% of the time. But that 1%, they do hit the open crack, and then out they go. So maybe those are the only times I notice. But anyway, be that as it may, I put some fry in here. I added these fry. Now, just so if you're wondering what these are, they're beautiful little fish. Thank you for the Carla, for the thumbs up reminder. And all of you who have joined us just now, I'm looking at the fry that we've had in the last few weeks. I don't know if you remember, but we had some fry come out of our contraption, the egg trap, and we didn't know what they were. Well, these are them. These are what have come out of it. They're orange, and they're very yellow. Let me see if I can get a better shot. I don't know if I can get a better shot. The tank is filled up with some sort of infusoria. I'm going to have to do something about that. But these fry were put in here, and I had taken the males, the big male Luminatus out, and as you can see, these orange fry, these are actually the results of the egg trap. Now the Furcatus, no, they came from a mop, and I have some Furcatus growing up, blue-eyed Furcatus. There's about 6 of them in there or so. And these are the little guys that we had in the container. We didn't know what they were. Were they danios or were they rasbores? So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this, and I'm staring at this tank, and suddenly one day I look up in the corner, and look what's over here. I don't know if you can see them. Look up there. There we go. Look at those little baby fish. Up there at the surface, there are about a dozen of these little blue eyes. I was like flabbergasted. I said, where'd they come from? I didn't put them in there. So then I had to think back of what I was doing. There's one going, and then of course with this infusoria in the tank, they just had no problem. They didn't really even need me. They've been growing all on their own. I haven't had to do a thing. But there they are. Look at the bellies, full bellies and everything, and I don't even have to feed them. Anyway, the point is, I took out those males, but before the female jumped, she obviously had laid some eggs somewhere in this tank. And those eggs eventually hatched. They do take a while to hatch, and so what happened was the male in this particular tanks were here for, I don't know, maybe even a week before I took them out and decided to put these little fry to grow out. So what could have happened is during that course of that week, maybe some hatched, I don't know, but it usually takes about 7 to 10 days to hatch. So I had gotten them out just in time. And so now I have a tank with Fricatas, and the obviously these are not the Galaxy Rasboras, also known as the CPDs. These are obviously danios, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at them, there's a stripe going right down their center, and I don't know if you can see it. Look at the orange fish here. If I can focus, there we go. A little bit. Maybe if you keep moving. Hey, you'd think that fish would stop moving for the camera, right? So they can get a good picture. These guys never stop moving. But anyway, they're orange, very orangey, not at all like their parents. But look at the stripe. If you can see that stripe. So they used to be up in here, in this little container here, and so we didn't know what they were. They grew up, and then I put them over here, and now we know what they are. So I'm very, very tickled about that. These are glowlight danios. And just to look at the parents over here real quick, they're down over here. In fact, I'm going to give you a treat. I haven't fed them yet, and I'm going to throw, well, wait a minute, to feed them I need to, oh wow, they're getting a little frisky there. They think they're going to get fed. These guys get fed a lot. Thank you all for joining tonight. Looks like New Local Austin, Motor City Aquatics. Yeah, thank you for joining. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some baby brine shrimp in there, but I don't have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to get some. So I have this over here. I'm going to go ahead and, while we're talking, I'm just going to start doing the thing. See. So I'm going to take. I just turn off the thing. I turn it to 90 degrees. Air stops. And then I just wait a few minutes, turn off the air. Air is there, it's off. And I just let this sit. And then I will pour it out. Once I just have to pull this out. And I'll put the end in the container I have. This is a 2-liter bottle that's just sitting. It's just sitting on a plastic container, and then I'm going to put them. I just put a clamp there to hold it down, and it's going to filter out in just a few minutes. We'll turn the knob back open, and already it's starting to separate. The shells are floating to the top. So we'll get some baby brine shrimp, and then I'm going to really show you. You'll get some up and close look at the glowlight danios. Also, while we're here, just to give a quick look, this is some lucipinnis. It's a small batch. What I've been doing here is when I put them in the breeder box, I don't change the water very much. I have on many occasions killed quite a few, sadly, because they are very susceptible to water change, and especially chlorine. This is one of your canary in a coal mine type of fish. If there's any issues with pH drops, or if there's water quality issues, these guys will tell you they start behaving erratically, and that's when I know something's wrong right away, and I usually can spare the fish in the tank by catching. If I see any loss of a lucipennis, I immediately take action. At night, I do have a one of these lights that's always on because I don't want it pitch black in here. It can be pitch black, but you'll notice over these tanks there's two lights. This one is with the regular lights, but this one is a blue on blue, and it runs on a different schedule, and it comes on before this one comes off, and this one stays on all night. This blue light, it's a fixture, Aquanita. I think they're just cheap Chinese-made fixtures, but I agree it's not a good idea to have all your lights off because the fish, they don't do well when it's pitch black. They get scared oftentimes. If they have fry especially, they will just eat the fry. So next update. Next update is this week I put 4 pairs together in these 4 tanks. I got them cleaned out finally, and I want to see some breeding action. So in tank number 1, I used on the bottom these little plates to hold up the grill. This is a special grill that you can buy for barbecuing. It's fiberglass, not metal. And I use it. It just cut a little bigger than the bottom, and it kind of stiffs out. As you can see, it kind of forces a nice tight edge so the fish can't get underneath it. So then this time I used mops. I didn't have anything else. So I put in here green moss tiger barbs, in other words, green tiger barbs. And the moment I put them in here, they started spawning like within 15 minutes. So I know this one is going to have some eggs. We don't know yet. I'm just a little premature. I should have waited. I should have done it like Monday, and then we might be able to see something by tonight. But I didn't have an opportunity to get to it. So this just sits on top. It doesn't have to be a big gap underneath, but I look sometimes underneath for eggs. I don't know if there's a big thing there. Right? That's not an egg. That can't be. It's too big. But sometimes, I'll tell you what you can do. If you're interested in knowing if they've had eggs, one of the things you can do is wait a day. And since this has been a day, you can oftentimes look at the bottom and look for, believe it or not, a white infertile egg. So sometimes I look now over here. I don't know if you can see that, right about there, right there. It looks like oh, my finger's too big. Right there in the middle. That looks like it might be an infertile egg, and it's turned white and maybe even started to fungus. That's what you start to look for. Now this one, number 3, is an interesting tank. I use something different to prop up. I'm trying different things to see what's best. This worked out good as well, and it just made a bigger gap on the bottom, which is not necessary, but I had these plastic baskets sitting there, so I said let's use them. And they also support the actual grill much better. So if you can see that, it's also super easy to look underneath. Now, yeah, you see those white balls in the back? Those are bad eggs. So I'll tell you what that means is very good news. Not exactly are we saying that the eggs can be seen, and that's good news. Yeah, if you could see them, fine, but usually they're clear. They're very hard to see. But when you see a few bad eggs, it means that they spawned, and that's the key. They spawned. Now in this particular 4th tank, I think there was no success. Now I'll tell you why. If there is success, I will be in shock. I don't see anything, but for some reason, I don't think the female was in good condition when I put her in there. I think she got harassed maybe a little bit because the second day she died. And I don't think if a fish is going to die like that, I think she must not have been well to begin with. I had put this 4th pair to be platinum. So these are platinum tiger barb pair. It was my last pair that I had. Now, I understand that I've had a lot of difficulties with the platinums I've had, and they've slowly been dying off. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. I did pick up more recently these platinums. These platinums right here are just, I think, so much better. I don't know if you can see them. There we go. Here we go. Here's some platinum. See right there? Those are platinums. Platinum tiger barbs. I like them. I wish they would. I'm going to try this. This is a new crop of platinums I picked up last month, or actually December. And I'm going to try those. Look at that one there. That's a beauty. She's like super platinum-y, you know? So, and look at that one there. Really nice. I got some ruby barbs too. I'm trying to get Chris Stubbs to tell me if I got any females in here. I think they're all males. I really do. He's going to have to give me some of his females, I think. I don't know. I might, maybe that one is. Maybe that's a female right there. I might pull her out and see if she fattens up away from the males. If she starts getting dark, when she's separated from the dark males, like this dark male, those are ruby barbs. And the ruby barbs get that dark color and they come and go with their color. Here's a really super dark one right now. So they come and go in their colors. Lighting is not too great here. Let me see what happens if I move the light forward. Oh, they think they're going to get fed. Look at that. Nice group. Look at that. I've got rubies and platinums right there. Now, I do have some reds in here for comparison, but they stay at the bottom. They stay to themselves. It's kind of weird. It's like they're a different species of fish, and they are. They're different. But these guys are what I'm after. I want to see some platinums and some good quality ones. I want to try to breed them and see what I'm going to get out of them. Now, it's time to put the baby brine shrimp into the container. So it's separated completely. It's been 10 minutes or so, or 5 minutes. As you can see, most of the shells are at the top. I'm going to use this, what I call a loop system. So I have a long tube on the end of this. It's not very short, it's long. And what I'm going to do, let me rearrange that again. Okay, look. So the goal is, I'm going to take the tube and loop it down. See how it's down all the way to the base or the bottom? Goes all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to come back up into this. So when it gets to the end of the line, when the shells are starting to come through, there's no more water behind it to push it through. So it can't push through and get into the container. So I can walk away. So I'm going to put this here and just start draining, and it will just drain only the shrimp. So I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. Here goes the shrimp. And there it comes. And there it goes. Okay, so it's going to fill up there, and in a few minutes we'll just grab some. It doesn't take long, but I can walk away and not worry about that. That's the good thing, very nice thing about it. Okay, going back to our episode over here. So this is the episode we had. What I think appears to be 3 tanks of green tiger barbs and 1 tank of platinum tiger barbs. Green platinum, this is green moss, and then the green platinum pair I don't think, but I will leave it for maybe the same duration compared to the other tanks. They're all about 80 degrees and they all had the bottom mesh, and in this particular tank I left the platinum pair an extra day, so they were in there 2 days. But if they laid eggs and the eggs were at the bottom, they probably haven't hatched and started climbing up the sides yet anyway. So 2 days is okay if they don't kill each other. In this case, I probably should have removed them after 1 day. But that's the way tiger barbs are. When the females are done, they're done. They're not going to go anymore. So I just have a mop in each one. And the mop is also a filter and spacers off the bottom. So that's it. So we're going to see if we get a good batch of green tiger barbs, and then we'll move on to this particular species. I'm anxious to try these. They're hiding right now. Hello. I got my males out, ready to snatch and put into the tank. The males are here. They're coming out a little bit. They had some beautiful color when they were in the big display tank. These are Pentazonas or Hexazonas. I believe that they are Hexazonas in reality. Hi, Scheller Aquatics. Nice to have you, Steve. The Pentazonas are what the trade calls them because they see 5 stripes. But the truth is, at the base of the caudal tail, the base of the caudal peduncle and the tail, right there, there is a fine line. Now, that makes a 6th stripe, making them Hexazonas. You'll see it if you look closely for it, and I have also seen some shops where the fish have a stronger 6th bar. I've seen it. I saw it in Kitchener at the Big Al's Aquarium last year, and I should have grabbed them because I thought that it would be a really nicer specimen to be breeding from. But at the moment, at the time, I didn't have the circumstances to get them, so I had to pass on them. But I keep my eye out. If you look closely, there is a stronger 6th stripe. Now the males, I'm not worried about them having color. They don't need color in order to breed. That's something, they just need the maturity. And I'll show you the females. They're down here, way down here. And they're on black sand. So I'm going to pull them out. There's one. See how dark she is? If you've noticed the Pentazonas, like right there is one. There's one in the back. They have a bar. They're all barred. And the bar has like green on it. It's like green bars. They have a lot of green on them. I'm zoomed in so it doesn't quite look so nice, but I'm sorry about that. There's also a lot of stuff in the water for some reason. These females, I don't know why, they're just like scaredy and sitting in the corner. They don't like me for some reason. I haven't figured out why some days they're out jumping about and other days they're out hiding. It happens. And while I'm squatted down here, I'm going to show you the other side. This is a very neat set of fish. I'm excited about these fish are now starting to come into color. And they have a purple sheen on them. And they're full-bodied. They're really coming into some nice colors. And I'm sure you know what these are. And to give you a hint, the water is cool. So they're a cool water species. But I would really like to have a hand at trying to breed a few of these. Thank you. Mayor, you know, of course, what they are. Those things are... Yes, rainbow shiners. Thank you, Mayor. And I just lost the signal for a second. Hope you didn't get too worried about the freeze. My red lizard plecos are growing. There's a lot of them in here. You can see they're nice size now. Nice sellable size. Looking great. And over here, look at this. Look at this one. This one is for Bill. If you're watching, Bill, I don't think you are, but if check this out sometime. This is it. Beautiful fish. You ordered, I think you ordered 6 of them. They're in this tank right here. Also, in the future, since I'm here, I just gotta show you. I did pick up these rams. Now, if you're wondering why would I pick up more rams when I have a ton of them, these rams are a little different. And to show you the difference, I'm going to compare this ram. See it? Anybody know what the difference is? Let me show you the rams that I have. There's one in here. It must be on the other side. There it is.
What's the difference? Here's my ram from the family that I have. Let's see. Let's take a look. I can get it focused. There we go. Look at there's the difference. That's mine. These are the ones I picked up. See the difference? Gold head, yep. So these are the gold-headed ones. I picked up a few, and I don't know the sex yet. To me, they look like all females. I don't know why I don't see any males predominantly, but I also know it's good to wait and let them grow out a little bit before I jump to any conclusions. So maybe they only had females in this tank that I saw them, and I wanted to grab them. Thank you, Mayor, for your super chat. Much appreciated. I do appreciate that tonight, especially. Um, Danziger, I don't know that about the is that the electric blues? I didn't even know. I thought Danziger was more of the gold and the blacks. These are electric blues. I picked these up in Niagara near Buffalo. Actually, Tatonga, I think, is the name of the city. That I went to a really neat place, a fish shop down there in the States, in Tatonga, New York. It's called the Fish Place, and I just love that place. You know, one of the reasons why I like that particular place so much is because they have every tank planted looking great. Gravel is thick and pushed up, and so the fish tend to come to the front of the glass. They all feel comfortable. There's no bare bottoms. There's no bare tanks. It's a lot of work, I'm sure, to keep that entire fish shop looking that great. But it makes an outstanding, amazing difference. So I highly recommend the place. This is my favorite place to go when I go to Buffalo area. So our brine shrimp is ready. Let's get some. And I want to get a close-up of the breeders. So this is where I now put my air bubbles in. I'm going to, before I do that, I'm just going to grab a little bit here. I'm just going to grab a little bit so it does not too much. I'm just going to grab a little bit of that. And I'll put the air bubbles in. Let that percolate away. And then there's my brine shrimp. And we're just going to come over here. Now watch this. They know when I put it in what's happening. And here they come. Now let's see if we can get some good footage, close footage I should say, of these beautiful danios. They move so fast. Let me back up a little bit, maybe that would be helpful. If I could hold the camera still for a second. When you see these guys, you really see their colors. They look like little miniature salmon. In fact, I'm going to try something, add some light. Let me see if I can reach over to an extra little light I have. I'm going to put it on top and see if it won't scare them. Not too much. They're going for the food. But look at the colors in those fish. They have like yellow, red. They have that glow stream going through their body. Of course, they're zipping along at super speeds. Every once in a while, one will stop and pause before it kicks in. And that's always kind of scary. You always wish your camera would snap at that moment. I don't know how these people get these pictures of glowlight danios. They're just zipping around. Look at them. But I don't know exactly why they stopped breeding. We had some fry coming from them using our trap. This is the Blake's Aquatics, and the Blake's Aquatics egg trap has been is in use. I actually cut down on the amount of moss. I kind of cleaned it out a bit so more eggs can fall through. And I found one baby since the big batch that we saw over in the other tank growing out now. But I think the temperature of the tank, water changes, parameters have to be just right. Maybe doing a water change tonight. Maybe just giving them a fresh water change will induce them in the morning. Or wait till there's a storm coming. I know that we had a storm last weekend, and everybody's Corey's from Newfoundland to British Columbia were actually just laying eggs everywhere. That storm we had was just sensational. Okay, get a good look at this. Too bad none of the CPDs have laid any eggs in the egg trap. We haven't had any. I gotta get a mop in here too because those luminatus are now, I think, old enough to start laying. I could just throw a mop in there and see if I can pull the mop. I don't think the danios would stop long enough to be able to go into the mop and get eggs. Maybe the CPDs might. So I don't know how successful it would be to try to breed the the illuminatus in this tank. But they're growing out fine, and this is a very busy tank with lots of little small fish growing up. It's the kind of the highlight of it.
So that's kind of neat to see them feeding on the fish there, the luminatus along with the glowlight danios. I really do appreciate those. So I do have, I had a small spawn of German blues. That's what you saw in the container. I also have, let's take a look at the status. I think if Malik is watching, he wanted to see this. Here is the angels. These are two batches of angels. They're long fin platinums, and there's quite a few in here. But in order to see them, I need a light. As you can see, they're just not quite free swimming. Maybe tomorrow they'll do liftoff, because I see a few of them trying to. See in the back, kind of along the, yeah, they're everywhere. This is going to be another large group. Let me see if my flashlight above works. Yeah. At any rate, you can see there's quite a few in here. We got those coming up. That's a good thing. They're in the jars. They stay in the jar until the water quality is starting to turn when they start feeding baby brine shrimp. Like for example, these have just started liftoff. I'm feeding these now. Right now I'm feeding them vinegar eels. And I might throw some powdered food or microworms or something. These are all German blues. Let's see if they're at the top. Yeah, they're at the top now. So vinegar eels are probably the right food to feed them right now. But it's kind of hard to get a good angle with a curved glass. But yeah, so they're in here now, and as you can see, they're free swimming. So once I get them on baby brine shrimp, once the bottom starts really mucking up, that's when it's time I have to put them in something else. And I'll probably use my drip system. So we'll put them, hang them on, we're going to hang them off these right here with the drip system. And then they'll just drip into the breeder box. The breeder box will then overflow into the tank, and then on the back, the tank will overflow into the drain. So everybody gets a constant drip, and that's how I will keep the water quality up for these baby tiger barbs as they come up. I haven't seen one yet, but I have faith that they're there. So the next time we do a live stream together, we take a look at them, I guarantee you we'll see something. Don't know how many, but we'll see something. It would be nice to get a nice sized batch to pick from and all. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. I try not to leave them in here too long because there's not a lot of water. And again, in here, I can't leave them in here too long. And there's quite a few of them in here anyway. So these might have to go into a tank. And I do have a 10-gallon tank that will be available. It's in the back. We looked at it a moment ago with the Subwasser tank. So those right back there, that's black rams and gold rams. So those are coming. Those are going to the grow out center tomorrow. So that tank will be free, and probably the angels will need to go in there. I've just been holding off putting any more fish in these 10 gallons. You know where the Plecos are, and the reason why is because we already talked about it at the new year. We're going to be taking these 3 tanks out and replacing them with 4 or 5.5 gallons. So I'm trying to keep them freed up because at one point I'll have the time maybe to replace those. So here's the update on these. I will start feeding them tonight more vinegar eels, and then these will start getting vinegar eels tomorrow. As soon as they become free swimming, then I'll know they're off their egg yolk. And I'll probably put some paramecia first day, just to have something to pick at when they're really small like this. Tends to give them a start. Of course, this tank here has some interesting lucies in it, and I love to throw some food in there because right now you think, okay, yeah, there's a tank, a few lucies, whatever, you know. If you really want to see lucies, you have to throw food in there. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to toss a pinch of Dr. Baslier. There it comes. 3, 2, 1. Okay, dinner time. And here they come. Hoovering up that stuff. This is good stuff. They just start coming out of the woodwork. I keep that little castle in there. That's really necessary for lucies because lucies are very timid fish. If they really need to have a cave, and they will inhabit the cave, they will come darting out and darting in. Yeah. I think they're afraid of the camera. There's usually 100 out by now. Yeah, mini vacuums. So, that's why in this tank I have these caves here for the bigger lucies, and you'll see them going in and out. They inhabit this, but they go crazy. Really neat. Okay, well that's a Friday night for you. I do want to say thank you very much for coming to see the latest and greatest. Talk about a few of the fish that are coming up, and to especially spy on those brand new Luminatus babies that are now hovering over the surface of the water. That's something I really wanted to share with you. I also, just to remind, I still have not, whoops, sorry, you don't want to see that. You want to see the other side. Okay, there we go. These tanks, I have been putting the mops in. I've been getting nothing. But I've also been measuring the temperature, and I have found out that the temperature of these tanks can be dropping, or can differentiate, or be quite a bit different than they should be. So what I have discovered is that it's best in these cases to have a heater in there, at least a 78 degree, so that they never get lower than 78. So I have the heaters, and tomorrow, maybe I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's so cold here tomorrow, I don't think I'll be going out. And I'm going to have, I have a plug right there. I'm going to attach a power bar on that air line, and then I'm going to put heaters in each one of these. Once I do that, I think I'm going to have more success, and that's the goal. So I don't like to have batches or eggs that don't work out, right? I mean, that they were for naught. I really do appreciate when an egg hatches and the fish hatches, grows, and becomes an adult. It's one of the more, that's the joys of fish keeping, really, of breeding fish, is to see them from egg to adult and to see them grow. and see them get there. It's a wonderful feeling if you have success. So there's always tweaks involved, and if something's not working out, the question is, if it doesn't work out, then why? Ask yourself, what's different? What isn't working right? What's the deal? I know in the past some things have worked out, and then I try it again the second time and it hasn't worked out. So I've asked myself, what's different? And so if you're always asking yourself, did I replicate what I did before? How is it different? Find those answers. And if it could be just the things on one hand, the temperature, the food, the pH of the water, or it could be the lighting. It might even be finally the condition of the fish. So, these 5 things, that's what you got to concentrate on, and I wouldn't worry about too much of the other things. If you can get the water parameters, and you can get the conditioned fish, the type of food, and the pH that the fish like, if those can replicate those conditions, you'll have success. And now for a final treat, the mailbag. Of course, I have received a number of letters, and when I get the responses back about the paramecia that I do sell at my site, fisheasy.ca, I get responses. Sometimes they're no good. I have one person I'm working with right now in Canada who is having issues. He doesn't seem to see any progress on the batch. Of course, it's only been 1 week, and so I'm hoping that by the end of a second week he'll have lots. If you're watching, Naz, then you know. But here's what's happened across the Americas and other places. I'd like to read a couple of things about responses or feedback I received from other individuals. One is Steve. Steve says, he said, I did get my culture and have started another batch which is really producing, just in time for my baby CPDs. Also using an egg trap very similar to Blake's, and have lots of new babies. Hope all is well, and thank you again. Still loving your YouTube channel. Of all the ones I watch, I really do like your information and content. Struggling with the rams, and lately black cory eggs not hatching. Maybe they're just too young. Thanks again, Steve. So thanks, Steve. I do appreciate the feedback. You're having great success. That when I hear that, it just it's wonderful. In my book. Here's a response from Evan. Now, just so you know, Evan is in Australia. So Evan, he was the first attempt that we had to mail the culture to Australia, from Toronto to Australia, to see what would happen. He wanted to say, just to let you know, that the culture arrived a few days after Christmas. I now have 2 small cultures running perfectly. Thank you very much. Well, you're welcome very much, Evan, and I'm so glad that it was a success, that the paramecia did well in the postal, all the way from one end of the planet to the other. And finally, from Pete, Pete says, Fish Easy, enjoy your streams. In regards to using paramecia instead of egg yolk, be prepared to have a lot of available grow out space. Since I started feeding the paramecia you sent me, the fry survival rate has gone through the roof. Now I'm having to add more tanks for grow out. Well, that's what we all kind of have, right? Wow, that's the kind of situation I like to hear, Now I'm getting a much higher survival rate, he says. So thank you, Pete, for that feedback. It tells me something. It tells me that we're doing the right thing by using live foods, and the paramecia is a very practical way of having a very small live food for the very small mouths of newly born or newly hatched fry. So I hope that was helpful. If you want to try the paramecia, the price is the same. It's just the shipping that changes depending if you're in Canada in the U.S. or Australia for that matter. And finally, I wanted to ask or point out that I love my gun. This is the one I use for temperature reading. And I like it so much, I got another one. Okay? But what I found out, which was very interesting, and one day we're going to talk a little bit more in depth of the different controls on these things and why this particular one I like. I found something startling. You know, I'm going to, let's see, if I take the temperature of the same glass, I'm going to hold them together, and I take the temperature of the same glass. I have all the settings exactly the same. I went through and set them up identical, and each time, I don't know if you can see that, this one is 2 degrees higher. Always 2 degrees higher. I don't know how to calibrate. I'm going to have to try to find out. I'm going to contact the company and say, is there a calibration? Because what I've done is I have a very, very accurate thermometer, and I've compared it, and it turns out that when you compare the thermometer versus the heat gun, that this one is precise. It's exactly the same as the thermometer, and I've got a Kodak thermometer. And this one, always 2 degrees more. So I've identified it with a rubber band just so I know when I pick it up, I don't get excited. These things have a beep, and if they're out of the range, so you set the range high and low, and if I just shoot it at the tank, I don't even have to look. Uh-oh. No, nothing. I just shoot them at the tank. Now watch this one. Nope, still warm. So if it's within, this one says 80. No heater in this one over here. This one has 80 degrees. But if it's out of range, if I shoot down below, you hear that? That little beep goes off. It says it's out of range. So I can actually shoot the tanks. Bump, 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 bump. And I'm just going around, and anything out of range has to catch my attention because it'll start beeping. And when I shoot and beep, I immediately look at it and say, why is that beeping? Is it too high? Is it too low? It's a quick way, a quick check, and you don't have, it's very difficult to read thermometers sometimes. Now, on the other hand, the thermometer, or shall we say the temperature reading on these kinds of heaters, and you see if you can see them, right in there. You see these kind? These are my aquarium co-op heaters that I got last year. I'm trying them out, see if I like this kind. It's for my breeding sections. But I have noticed something very interesting about them. That particular temperature reading, it says 80 right now, right? Well, I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use my other one. This one says 80. Let's see what my gun says. .2. It's within 1 degree. So 79.2 versus 80. I have found it to be very accurate. So I do trust those numbers, those big bright red numbers on the heaters, because I've also put my Kodak thermometer in there. Just so if you're interested in seeing this Kodak thermometer, this is what it looks like. It's a special thermometer in a special case. And I believe it's probably something that was years ago used in film making. When people used to develop their own film and stuff in what we call dark room. And so maybe the temperature was very important. And this thing is super, super precise, accurate. It moves fast. It probably has real mercury in it compared to just liquid red water or liquid red whatever it is that's in a lot of these thermometers that we have. This is probably an authentic one. It's an aged one. Don't ask me where to get one because I have no clue as to where to get one. This came from Mr. Bob Wilson. It's probably vintage, 40 years old. And very easily could be 40 years old, this particular device. But thermometer is not going to change much if kept well. It's been kept in its case, so I trust it. And it complies. If I put it in one of these tanks, it's going to say 80 degrees or 79.5. So, well, that's some exciting things to talk about tonight. I do have one final announcement, and that is there will be a collaboration with Fish Easy and Aqua Malik. It will be coming up soon, so stay tuned. There's going to be some dialogue going on. It's going to be a dual live stream, so I invite you all to that particular one. And I don't have a date yet of when it's set, but what I will say is that it's going to include I will include a notice on my website, so if he's hosting, you'll know to go over there and see us both talking about fish. He'll be perhaps in the grow out center, and I'll be here in the nursery, something like that, and we'll be talking about different fish. And we have in store some interesting, shall we say, things we've learned, lessons learned, also some subjects that I think you're all going to find very intriguing and very useful in treating fish, in maintaining fish, growing fish, breeding fish. So stay tuned for that. I hope everybody's excited to participate in that kind of an event. It's something new for us, and we will be implementing it very soon. So I will send out a notice, usually the community posting, and also I'll try to let it out on Facebook and some of these other places that maybe you frequent. You might see it. We'll prepare and plan for it. Maybe that will be the way to go. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for on this Friday night, because I know you took time out of your schedule and just to be here. And I know I need to get back and get busy. I got a few fish to feed, and it's Friday night, so there's always things to do. Oh no, you just started watching? Yikes. Well, don't worry. Medina Aquatics, you can catch the replay, and please do. Thanks again, Mayor, for that wonderful super chat. Everybody's contributing so much in the chats with comments and questions. I do appreciate it so much. And although I didn't see a lot of questions, I don't think I missed much. It was great to see Shutter Aquatics here. Don't miss his videos. That's a tremendous source of videos. Shutter Aquatics. Also, I do want to mention, I saw Chris Stubbs' video. He did one Tuesday, I think it was, this week. I saw that one. It was very good. And it was a live stream. You got to look at it from a live stream point of view. But he's getting better and better with his live streams each and every time. So that was really neat to hear and see some of his fancy goldfish, koi, etc. And also his barbs. And I love those barbs. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing those barbs. Got some. I hope you enjoyed the barbs here tonight in this video too. So thank you all for joining. It's been an hour, so I'm going to sign off now for a Friday night, another episode of Fish Room 411, information on your fish room and fish breeding. And thank you, but as always, keep it real. Still there? Okay. We'll try that again. Keep it real.